Hi, this is Kirby Sommers, and I welcome you to my true crime podcast. Today is January the 3rd, and I'm sure that you're all still trying to recuperate after a major partying. So again, I wasn't going to do a podcast today. However, this is the second day in a row that I am feeling a little better. I'm still not 100%. I would say I'm 88% rid of COVID. I've been sick since the beginning of December until present day. But again, it's the second day where I'm feeling better. So I believe this is the beginning of it's going to be great. So here's the thing. First, I want to start off by thanking you. Your support over the last 3.5 years, your support on all of my platforms, the people who are regulars, the new people who are following me and who appreciate my work. I really want to thank you because I feel really privileged to be heard. I spent 30 years being silenced, and silenced in a very aggressive way. And I won't get into that, but I think some of you who know my story or perhaps have read my memoir, The Billionaire's Woman, you're aware that I have been very silenced. And in fact, even to present day, there are trolls who are not necessarily trolls, on Twitter or any social media, but who are in fact part of a group of, let's say, intelligence assets and or connected to the person for whom I was a sex slave. So that I just said something that maybe not all of you know. So let me introduce myself. And before I do that, like the video, and subscribe, because here's the thing, and I'll introduce myself in a second for those of you who don't know who I am. I want to get to 10,000 on YouTube, because then more people will hear what I have to say as someone who is looking at this in a very different way than anyone else. And once I tell you who I am and my background and all of that, you'll understand. And so help me get there. Subscribe. There's a good 40% of you who listen to and I know because I saw the statistics, who listen to my podcast and you don't subscribe. Take a moment and just subscribe. It doesn't hurt you and it will help me tremendously. Okay, so my name is Kirby Sommers. I am a survivor of rape. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. I was sold to a brothel by my sister, who is 14 years my senior. And then after that ordeal, I was hunted down by a billionaire elite who was connected to the Jeffrey Epstein case and the Franklin child abuse case. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. It took about 6 months for him to sort of like remove all of the barriers and to have me succumb into becoming his sex slave. And these predators know how to do that. I was followed. It's a long story. It's in my memoir. And so I was a sex slave of 8 years to this very powerful person, powerful to the government, powerful in every manner. In fact, he utilized the services of a police captain in order to find me for him. Okay, so however, today I'm an author. I've written close to 15 books. Many of these books are on Epstein and Ghislaine, and also I go into the Franklin scandal. I go into Hollywood and its connection to the CIA and the intelligence agencies. I delve into Mossad, and because my abuser is a member of CIA/Mossad, every time I say CIA, I also mean Mossad, because I have learned throughout all the course of my research, and because of the ongoing things that unexplained things that happen in my life, which is why I have focused on this, because I have a lot to add. They are sister agencies. So to my knowledge, I'm the only sex slave survivor that researches this aspect, this category. So there are a lot of researchers, indie media. I'm not even going to talk about mainstream, because we all know that Operation Mockingbird never went away. So to my knowledge, I am the only sex slave survivor that researches and writes not only books, but articles, which I include in my newsletters, which are the Epstein Project and the new one on Substack. And my belief, based on the fact that my abuser, to my knowledge, is connected to both the Epstein trafficking ring and the Franklin trafficking ring, and other clues that I have acquired since I began to research this in depth after Epstein's arrest, although I had information from before, is that they are all interconnected. All of these trafficking rings, even the ones in Paris and the ones in Australia and Jimmy Savile, they're all interconnected. So for my newsletters, I typically research several topics at any given time. I'm always researching. When I tweet, it's usually because I'm researching and I'm thinking, and so I'm like, I want to take a break, and so I go and I tweet something, and then I keep researching. Sometimes, however, because I'm researching so many different people and different periods in our history, I will stumble across a phenomenal find that I set aside for use in a future newsletter or for me to use in one of my books. So I want to share with you a find. I'm not going to name names, but I'm going to explain how a person not selected from school, not a blue blood, not one of the traditional CIA agents, but someone who is a grown person, is selected to become a CIA asset, because I found one with receipts that I'm going to be sharing with you guys in some way, certainly not on Twitter. I'm not going to get myself suspended, because, I'm just not going to do that. So I usually do that kind of thing through my newsletter. But I do want to explain to you what happened. So the time period for this person turned CIA spy is the 1950s. And this person was already a criminal. This person was already part of the drug trafficking world, the underground. Laws meant nothing to this person. And eventually this person found himself in a prison cell. Okay. The CIA pokes around, and apparently they seem to poke around to see if anyone can be of use to them. And I think that what we can sort of look at is Nicholas Tartaglione, who recently was removed from the death sentence. He is in jail at the MCC. He was accused by Jeffrey Epstein of trying to kill him back in 2009. I'm sorry, 2019. I believe it was the third week of July, right after he had been arrested. And Nicholas Tartaglione, who is a very, very large former police officer from Westchester County, was recently removed from the death penalty. So I'm not saying that I'm talking about Tartaglione, obviously, but I'm saying that somebody like him is selected. I'm sure that he was selected to do that to Epstein. So I'm talking about somebody that I found in the 1950s. Okay. I just have to make it clear because sometimes I read the comments and I realize that a couple of minutes somebody dozed off or maybe tweeted or maybe texted and didn't hear something. So I'm not talking about him. I am, however, talking about another man who found himself in jail in the 1950s of atrocious crimes. The CIA poked around and decided, you know what? This guy is useful. Useful because the guy is a psychopath. This seems to be like a recurring theme. If you're a psychopath, if you have no moral compass, you are a good, you're good. You're like a good person to kind of recruit into the family. The CIA, I'm sorry, but the CIA, I have to call them the CIA mob family for at least this podcast and hope that that's okay. I'll keep going. So what they did was they poked around and they did what they had to do and they lobbied the right people. I mean, after all, it's the CIA. And they got this person released. They decided that this person was going to have a bright future in politics. And not only did they release him, but he had some friends and associates who were also arrested at the same time that he was. Now, remember, this happened in the 1950s. And as a courtesy to him, his friends, I think it was a total of 5 other people who were like really very bad criminals. They were smuggling heroin, they were killing people, they were part of like a really, really bad group of criminals. As a courtesy to him, because they wanted him to work as an asset for the CIA, they also got them released. And some of these people were also facing life in jail forever, but they were released. All the charges were dropped. Okay, so that's basically how someone who is not selected from, let's say, Columbia University or New York University or one of the schools, Stanford or a high school, is selected to then become an asset. In this person's case, what happened was they also made him wealthy because they needed him to have a front. So in his case, it was a business front, but it was a cutout. It was something that was created as his cover. And through this cover, he did the work that he was required to do for the CIA. However, it made him very wealthy. And so when I think about somebody like him and this particular example, the first person that comes to mind is Leslie Wexner. Again, I am not talking about Leslie Wexner. I'm just saying that this person becoming very wealthy in business, which was a cutout, reminds me of Leslie Wexner, who became a billionaire, right? Now, in Wexner's case, we do know with 100% certainty that in the 1950s, the CIA used the Limited to export and import on paper some of his merchandise to and from the Orient with Jeffrey Epstein's help. So prior to this, in the early days of Wexner, we already know that he had mob ties. So this makes perfect sense that and then of course he became very connected to the government, which is kind of the same exact path that this person who I found in the 1950s took. Very connected to the government, has a business, becomes very wealthy. The business is used by the CIA as a cutout. And then the person was put into politics as a result of his success in business into a very powerful position. With Wexner, we know that he was very instrumental in, let's say, with the Bush family, for example, and in the 2003 Iraq War. It was because of Wexner's sort of work in propaganda and in the messages that the media told the American people. It was Wexner who basically did that in order to get the American people to support the war in Iraq in 2003. So we have documented evidence about this. I thought that you would find this of interest because I certainly did when I discovered and I saw step by step how this person was made into a spy for the CIA. And basically, he never stopped working for the CIA. He continued until the day he died and was given a very, very nice funeral. I just think it's fascinating to see how the underworld of the CIA works. I mean, they do work with criminals all the time. So in any event, I'm going to keep it short for today. And again, like the video, subscribe. Thank you for everything. All right, have a good day. Bye.